In the last episode, we stayed with the moment a split self is formed, when silence becomes protection and when performance becomes survival. But identity doesn't stop the moment you adapt. There's a stage that comes after adaptation, a stage that most people don't talk about because it doesn't look dramatic. It looks like competence, it looks like functioning, it looks like being fine. Today we're staying with what comes after the split. The cost of living as two selves, especially when silence becomes the safest place to live. And to illustrate this, I'm going to use Sean, the character Sean in the movie Good Will Hunting, played by Robin Williams. Not to analyze the movie itself, but because his silence helps us to see the stage clearly. When we first meet Sean, what we notice the most about him, it's not what he says, it's how little he needs to. He isn't detached, he isn't timid, he isn't unsure. He listens, he pauses, and he lets silence sit between words instead of rushing to fill it. When he speaks, it's measured, not because he lacks feelings, but because feelings has already been lived. You can see it in his posture, in the way he chooses when to speak and when not to, in how much he carries without displaying it. This is not a man without voice. This is a man who's learned where to place it. And that's the recognition point, because silence here isn't absence, it's habit. Sean has lived through something that changed him, and he has learned that saying yes can keep life intact. He's competent, he's respected, he's functioning. But notice what is subtle. He doesn't volunteer his inner world. He doesn't offer vulnerability casually. Intimacy feels carefully rationed, not avoided, just controlled. Not because he can't speak, but because he's learned that when you speak, it's going to cost you. This is what the cost of the split self looks like before it's named. Not broken. Just a life organized around restraint. And that's why this stage is so hard to recognize. From the outside, Sean looks grounded. From the inside, something essential has learned to stay quiet. This is the moment we're staying with today. Not the split self, but what happens after it has been living quietly for years. And when silence becomes the way that you survive loss, it eventually asks something in return. Sean's silence didn't come from nowhere. It formed after love, after marriage, after intimacy that did not need explaining, after a life where words were shared freely and mattered. And then his wife dies. What follows isn't dramatic detachment, it's containment. He doesn't speak about her easily. He doesn't lead with grief. He doesn't narrate his pain, not because it doesn't matter, but because it mattered too much. So he does what many people do when something is irreparable. He learns how to live around it. He keeps working, he keeps showing up, he keeps functioning. From the outside, he looks steady, even wise. But from the inside, something subtle begins to happen. His inner world becomes private territory, protected, rarely entered, even by himself. Because when loss has been held in silence for a long time, it doesn't disappear, it retracts. Expression becomes selective, vulnerability becomes optional, connection becomes careful. This is the price of survival after grief. Not numbness, but distance. Not collapse, but containment. The silence that once protected him starts to limit how fully life can reach him again. And you can feel that cost in how people live. They're present, but not fully reachable. They're capable, but not fully expressed. They're functioning, but not fully known. And so this is the cost of the split self. Not the loss of success, not the loss of safety, but the gradual loss of self-clarity and intimacy, because voice is part of how we organize inner life. When we don't speak, emotions don't vanish. They become tension. They lose shape, fatigue, a dull heaviness that doesn't come from effort, but from containment. And the hardest part is nothing here looks like a problem. And this is why I want to be clear. Nothing about this stage makes you weak. And nothing about it means you've lost yourself. Silence doesn't always come from fear. Sometimes it comes from love. Sometimes it comes from having something meaningful and losing it. In this stage, silence is not repression. It's protection that stayed too long. The cost isn't that you can't speak. It's that speaking no longer feels like home. Voice, once restrained long enough, it doesn't vanish. It waits. It waits behind competence, behind composure, behind a story of being fine. And this is where people misunderstand themselves. They think I should be over this. I should be more open. Something is wrong with me. But what's actually happening is more simpler and more human. The self learned how to survive. And it hasn't yet learned how to re-enter life fully. This isn't a flaw. It's a stage. Formation, pressure, split, and cost. Once the cost becomes visible, not rushed, not judged, something new becomes possible. Not immediately, not dramatically, but honestly. And that honesty is the beginning of the next movement. In the next episode, we'll move to the next stage in the identity framework. The moment awareness begins to turn into orientation, and the self starts asking whether survival alone is enough. And so that's when we begin turning from what happened to us to what we choose next. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I post the next video. Sur ce, on se dit à la prochaine. See you soon.